Happy Wednesday, y'all. It's time for a Tuesday tutorial, except it's Wednesday. What happened there? Well, I'll tell you what happened. I was trying to do a tutorial on Open that's offering partially collateralized options on Ethereum, and my poor little brain, if I'm honest here, couldn't figure it out. So I spent the whole morning trying to figure out options, put some calls and how you would use this, and then I tried to use Open and something didn't work, and it was probably me. So I have thrown all of that in the bin and turned my attention instead to Pendle, which is the protocol that allows you to liberate future yield. And if you've seen our videos on Alchemix, for instance, you'll know that it is possible to take the yield and the benefits of that yield from a future date and realize that now. Now, there are some trade-offs involved in doing this, but Pendle is doing exactly that. It takes a yield-bearing interest token like cDAI or aUSDC and allows you to split off the token itself from the yield that it will generate over a period of time and allow you to cash that in today. So how does it work exactly? Well, fortunately, their documentation is very, very simple, and basically here it is. So you take your yield-bearing asset, split it up into two different tokens, a YT token and an OT token. The YT token is the yield, the token that represents the yield. So the steps for doing this would be you take that yield-bearing token, you mint these two new tokens, and then you can swap your YT tokens, the yield representing tokens, for USDC, or whatever it is that you need. And then those are then sold into the market, and somebody else might decide they want to pick them up. Now, the reasons for doing that we'll come into in a bit, but it just allows you to split up the yield from the principal. So the OT represents ownership token, the YT token is the future yield token, and that's it. So it's actually kind of simple, really. But in order to make it happen, you need to have an AMM capable of doing those simple swaps between the YT token and whatever cash that you want, whatever stablecoin that you want, because otherwise none of it works. So if the goal is to realize some ready cash, then you need to have a liquidity pool ready to serve that. And that's why Pendle have their own automated market maker that's specifically designed to handle this one specific transaction. So you don't go and sell this token on Uniswap or on OX or on SushiSwap. No, you sell it using Pendle's own automated market maker. And that's because this specific ecosystem is specifically designed to cater to people who want this particular transaction. So that's why you will see Pendle's AMM in the protocol. Now, who would want to do this? Let's say I need some cash now, and I've taken out an other position, and I like my other position, but I actually want the yield from 2 years from now, right now. Now, I can split up my yield from my principal and then realize the gains from that yield. Now, when I looked this morning, the rates on other, well, we can have a look actually. So on DAI, 2.63%, USDT 6.63%, USDC 2.36%. I mean, not massive, let's be honest. Those rates have significantly come down since last year. But, you know, it's something. And so if we go then and look at what we would do with that, you know, basically, however much that would be on $1,000 or whatever you want to put in, then we can just take that and have it now. Who else might want to use this? Well, let's say you are, as they say in their documentation, a savvy trader. A savvy trader. I don't even know what that means anymore. And you want to gain exposure to what it would be like holding Other and earning the interest on that. Now, you could take $1,000 and deposit it in Other and realize the percentages on that. Or in the case of Benson, their prototypical trader, he actually buys $1,000 worth of YT tokens, and under their example, instead of gaining, as they say, 1,000 units of lending rate exposure on locking up 1,000 USDC, if we assume that aUSD will yield 0.04 USDC per YT over 2 months, that gains him 25,000 units of lending rate exposure instead. So if you see that the lending rates are looking to head upwards, then you can lock in a good rate now and buy the yield exposure instead of just simply depositing. And then there's arbitrage opportunities as well, but that's really for high level peeps. There's also a Pendle token. We'll get into what that's for and what you can do with it. But let's just run through the process of actually doing this so you can see how pretty much straightforward it is. So there's some great wording in here. You can see how the Pendle AMM works here. I still don't really understand it, but that's fine. I don't need to. Hedges, future yield today. You can see who it's aimed at. Liberating future yield. So let's go into the app. And it's all nice and clean. My wallet's already connected. So what we can see here, there are two pools. There's the YT aUSDC to USDC pool, and there's a YT cDAI to USDC pool. And these are the two liquidity pools that exist on the Pendle AMM. So you can see here, this YT aUSDC is the yield representing token that someone has split off from their other USDC position. Similarly, with this YT cDAI, that's a compound position on DAI that's had its yields split off from the principal. And these are the positions on the market that are available to trade on. If you own that token, you can swap it for USDC in both instances and realize ready cash. As we can see as well, there's a pretty tasty APR on these, and we'll come back to that in a second. So we go into the dashboard. It'll give you the overview of what you have, what you can claim. But the first thing we want to do here is go to minting. So what we would want to do when we go to mint is we're taken to this page here. And over here, we could set the number of aUSDC or cDAI that we want to switch into their YT and OT counterparts. And so that's what we would do here. I'm not actually going to go through this process now because I don't have any aUSDC and I didn't want to buy any, and I didn't think I actually needed any to produce this. And there's another reason why, which is if I had to go through this whole process and mint these tokens, it's fine getting the ready cash out now, but the underlying token, the principal token, that OT token, can only be redeemed for the full face value at the expiry of the deal that you are taking on. So there's a period of time in which this interest will earn enough for you to take out the amount of cash that you want. And it's quite a long time. So if you look up here on the expiry, it's 29th of December, 2022. So that's the end of next year. That's how long you would have to wait to redeem your OT token for the full face value. Now, if we go back into the documentation, it gives you the information about these OT and YT tokens, and in user groups as well. There we go, in basic features. So if we look in basic features, it tells you about redeeming OT. It says OT holders are able to redeem the locked underlying asset at any time as long as the following conditions are met. So firstly, to redeem the underlying after the contract expiry, only OT is required. A 1-to-1 proportion of underlying will be redeemed with OT after the contract expiry. So after that time, end of next year. To redeem the underlying before the contract expiry, equal amounts of OT and YT are required. The amount of underlying that can be redeemed will be equal to the amount of OT and YT. So when you split your tokens up, you get an equal amount of OT and an equal amount of YT. So in order to redeem your OT, you then need to go on the market and buy YT to the correct proportion, and then you will be able to redeem your OT for the full face value. Now, if you are buying YT, the interest is gradually drip-fed into your account, which arrives in the dashboard here. And it will tell you how much interest you've been earning. And it will be paid out in the underlying token. So it will be paid out in aUSDC or cDAI, not in one of these other synthetic tokens, these derivative tokens. Make sense? You following with me? So those yield tokens pay out continuously, and they pay out in the underlying asset token, which is a yield-bearing token in of its own right. Still with me? aUSDC is the other wrapped version of USDC that represents the interest that you can claim on the other platform. It does get pretty complicated, this stuff, but as long as you remember the kind of the core name of the token tells you where it's come from, it's usually okay. So let's say that we have now minted and we've got these two tokens. The next step is we're going to want to do one of two things. You can take out, you can swap your YT aUSDC for USDC. And it looks like a standard AMM Uniswap type interface here. You've got a very few options to drop down on, all good. And then some basic kind of functionality to swap. The next thing you could possibly do is add liquidity. So you've got two options here. You've got dual asset and single asset. So a single asset, you can add USDC, and you can also add YT aUSDC. Or with dual asset, you can add the pairs. So for compound and USDC as well. I think it's single asset, you've only got the USDC pairs. Sorry, the USDC items. So either the yield token or USDC itself. And of course, once you've added liquidity to the pool, you'll be issued an LP token. And with that LP token, yes, you can stake it. So that's where the stake tab comes in. So you could stake your Pendle LP tokens in here, and they will earn you, I think it says 294.14% APR. If we go back to the market, you'll actually get a better rate on the compound DAI pool here, which is 313.19%. So you're farming. Congratulations. And once you've done that, let's go back to the staking tab. You can easily stake and unstake, and you'll get paid out in the Pendle token. So if we have a look at the Pendle token, it's basically a governance token. They do say that more functionality will come to it, but at the moment it's a governance token, and I actually should probably go and look at the market for Pendle, see where it's at, because that's always helpful. Let's have a look. So Pendle's at 63 cents right now, and what was the all-time high on Pendle? $2.45, which is about 2 months ago. So it's been up quite high. Well, so is everything. And it may well go back up there again, but you'd have to decide whether it was a token that you wanted to hold, like with any other farming opportunity, but the farming opportunity is there. And the final piece of this is redeem. So here in the redeem tab, we can take our OT tokens and our YT tokens, if that's what's required, and then extract and redeem the original underlying aUSDC. And then in the farm tab, oh, there's more farming opportunities. So there's, with your Pendle, you could supply Pendle to a staking pool, and you could supply Pendle ETH to the SushiSwap pool. So lots of kind of sub games and games within games to be played here. But like with all these things, very, very clever money protocol stuff. And what I quite like about Pendle is the user interface is very nice and clean. It's very simple. But because there's so few pairs and so few assets actually to deal with, it's very easy to wrap your head around and understand. Unlike Opin. I'm sorry, Opin, or Opin. I couldn't get there. I tried, couldn't get there. I will next time, I promise. So that was it for this week's tutorial. I didn't actually do anything, but hopefully you understand a little bit more about how these tokenized yield versus principal separated things work. There's lots of different reasons why you might do this, and it all gets into kind of, you know, your estimation of where the market's going, estimation of where interest rates are going, but it's a fun game to play. And if you do play that game, there are some pretty decent incentives to do so through their farming mechanisms and through their LP tokens and through the Pendle token itself. So that was Pendle. If you've got any suggestions for a tutorial for me to do, please drop them in the notes below. If they involve options, please do not. I'm still not there. I will get there. See you on the next one. Peace.